during my high school years, once they decided they were going to build a dome, we had to move. So I moved to Decatur, and I went to Henderson High School, which was, a white school with black students because we had M to M during that time, and all of my classes, I was probably like one or two of black people in the classes that I was in, but I was very active with sports and cheerleading and student council and all that. But and so it was always very fine and calm. And I think the one experience that happened during that time, I went to school in the 90s, that created a distinct black white for me was during that Rodney King, not Rodney King, OJ Simpson verdict. And I was in
Uh,
school, I was in class. It was announced during I had like drafting during the long period, which is lunch period.
wow.
So my next period was um, AP history, and the majority of the class was white except for me and this girl Nikita. And Nikita and I played basketball together. But fortunately, my teacher, who was a white man, understood everything. So he was like, well, clearly we're not going to be able to do anything, so let's talk about it. And so it was during that time that I
Mm.
realized how mad the white students were. I mean, we started talking about like affirmative action, like national merit scholars. So they were just talking about how they didn't feel like it was fair. And one of the dudes that was talking, doing the most talking, wasn't even white. He was Egyptian, but he identified himself with white people. So that was, for me,
Mm.
was the most eye opening during my youth, because even though I had gone to black schools, I'd gone to also diverse schools. So I had always been able to move in and out of these different worlds fine. But then it just showed me that even though we're friends at school, you know how it is at lunch, you still sit with the black people, all that kind of stuff. But it was clear during that time and during that period what they were really talking about at home with their parents and how they really felt about us being students of color. And I would always appreciate my teacher because he was like, well, how would you suggest being able to repay a group of people for slavery and all the things that they had to experience and not having been able to start at the same starting point that you and your family and friends and all that had. So it was interesting, but I've always been all black everything, and I'm proud of it. Even the white worlds that I move into this day, I show up like I show up. And so I'm thankful. And I will say for me, Spelman definitely created a world of confidence because graduating from there, I started at Cox Media. So it was super white, super corporate, but I had braids and outcasts and butterflies all in my cubicle and was very proud to.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You got us.
Thank you for sharing.
Got us with this one. This was a good one. And that is over to our
Really
chair.
did. You got us on that one. But I
It was
think,
nostalgic. It took you back. It took you back.
yeah,
What?
it did. It did.
Yep. Yeah, y'all can hear us, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so much better, Mr. Williams.
All right, then. Markel is ready.
Thank you for joining us this wonderful, wonderful evening. We began at 5:05, and we established quorum. Thank you all, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Ms. S. Premies, for that wonderful SEL activity. We will first start with the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve.
Moved by second by Ms. S. Premies. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We will move to, we will look over the previous minutes and we move for the approval of them. Ms. Hurd, if you are able to, do you want to briefly go over the previous minutes from last meeting?
Hold on 1 minute. I'm sorry.
Oh, you good. You're fine.
And while we're pulling that up, good evening, everyone. We have our meeting norms as well as the agenda for today. So we have our budget development presentation where we will action item, which is to take the GoTeam vote on the draft budget after the presentation as well as the discussion. And informational items, we're going to be talking about today about the Yonder pouch briefly, about a new process that we're bringing to the school, as well as any different committee reports or our cluster advisory team as well. We can't hear you, Ms. Earth. You're on mute. Okay. Right. While we're waiting on that, did anyone else want to share out for the SEL activity, which was, what do you remember as a child from Black History Month, or what stands out to you? Ray, we teed it up for you, Mr. Singer or Mr. Conway.
Well, you know, I'm still thinking, yeah, I'm Elder Conway. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you know, I have thoroughly enjoyed all that I've heard, and wow, yes. Well, unfortunately, by the time Black History Month came into being, which was after, well, from my research in '76 and whatnot, I had already matriculated, and so it was, you know, from the north, in the north, you know. Um, it was just another school month. You know, we did not celebrate in that fashion, in the fashion that it's celebrated now and was after it, you know, its inception. But you know, I've really enjoyed each one that have spoken on this evening. You know, your experience.
Yeah, and I think for me, Principal Williams, I can't really recall, to be quite honest with you. I think growing up in Ohio and Cleveland, you know, the only thing I can remember is Cleveland had our first African American mayor was Carl Stokes, and that was a big deal for the city of Cleveland at the time, and that was in the late '60s or whatever. Maybe I wasn't born yet, but around the '70s, he was a big deal. He meant a lot to northeastern Ohio. So as I got into elementary and middle, my grandmother actually was a teacher. She was an elementary school teacher. So, and I had the opportunity to go to elementary school, 4th and 5th grade, where she taught. So that was important. And my 4th grade teacher was a male, Mr. Golden. He was African American male. But then after that, as we moved out to the suburbs, that kind of shrunk, to be quite honest with you, and it kind of focused on a lot of other things.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Singer. And we have, Ms. Hurd, we have it on the board as well. I'm sharing.
I pulled it up.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right.
Okay. And what would you like for me to go over?
Let's go over besides the SEO, what we went over for the action items.
Oh, okay. The action items, we'll start with A, SEL activities. The members will ask to share their connection with MLK Jr. B, Mr. Williams shared an experience about going to King's Chapel. I shared the information about hearing MLK Senior in church in Atlanta. Ms. Epps Primus discussed how her mother took her family to the MLK Recreation Center in their town, and she had the opportunity to imagine historical experiences. Mr. Singer shared that the 100 Black men offices are held within the new Ebenezer Baptist Church, and that it is inspirational to see the photos of the historical figures of Atlanta. Mrs. Pereira shared that her children played there when they were small, and felt it was amazing to see the global impact MLK Jr. has as she travels the globe. Mr. Copeland focused on the service and dedication to civil rights. Ms. Light shared that she attended the MLK daycare, and her great uncle Johnny lived on Sunset down the street from the King family, and she attended Spelman and recalls seeing the historical images. Next was the approval of the previous agenda. The motion was approved by myself and seconded by Mrs. Epps Primus. Next, the approval of previous minutes motion was approved by myself and seconded by Ms. Light. Lastly, the ranking of the 2026 strategic plan objectives. Please note that after consideration, the plan objectives were ranked and motion was presented by myself and seconded by Ms. Ferreira. And please note that the term create was added to the vision and the term innovative was added to the mission after the discussion from the former meeting. You want me to continue?
We can go ahead and we can highlight, so the discussion items, we know that the new strategic plan objectives created after our discussion, and we had rankings from 1 through 7. When we looked at our strategic plan when it was passed, we talked about regarding the two-way communication. A suggestion was made to consider GroupMe, Band, and Remind. We were looking at those different options for communication to improve. For the principal's report, I discussed the CCRPI scores as well as concerns that were expressed over the removal of funds for smaller schools. We talked about a little bit about the budget and what the allocations were in terms of enrollment for the next school year. And then we had our announcements, which were related to the ribbon cutting. We talked about Markel was actually representing the student body of APS at the board. We talked about the 7th grade boys brunch with Ms. Hurd, our basketball VIP experience for recruitment purposes. And then we saw that the meeting was open for public comments, but there were no additional comments there. And then Markel adjourned at 5:50. Mr. Copeland adjourned us.
Okie dokie. Is there a motion to approve the previous minutes?
Motion to approve previous minutes. I motion it.
I second that motion.
By Ms. First, second by Ms. Pereira. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any? The ayes have it. We will now move on to the discussion items, which is the budget development presentation.
All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. So we have, in terms of where we are at currently step 4, where we are getting the GoTeam feedback before the staffing conference taking place this week. And so we're going to ask a lot of questions if you have them, and please share any insights that you have.
Students writing the day before class.
As a reminder, this is our strategic plan, where we made note earlier at our last meeting that we added the word innovative to our mission. Switch those. And for our vision, we added the word to create. When we looked at the 6 priorities, we are strengthening our instructional core, we are caring for every child, we are sparking student curiosity, strength is our team, our responsibility is shared, and our school is efficient and effective. Those are our priorities, our focus areas, and within that you can see the different bullet points that are connected to STEM, data, whole child, looking at offering more opportunity for advanced content courses, strengthening staff capacity for content knowledge, increasing family engagement. We also mentioned that we wanted to provide consistent two-way communication to keep all stakeholders proactively informed and supported. All right, this is a refresher. This is what we focused in on as our ranked priorities from highest to lowest. And as we look at this here, we wanted to make sure that, we talked about the family engagement using data, staff capacity, flexible learning tools, implementing whole child system of supports, and we can continue to read on. But those are the areas in which we wanted to really focus in from highest to lowest, starting top. And for today, we're looking at different category descriptions. Looking at our focus area, you can see there's going to be a chart coming up after this where we have the focus area, the objective that we have, the resource recommendation, and any additional information that's going to be used, considered as we are looking at recommendations. You can see the what, how much, and the why as we go through the presentation. And so for us, starting off with our focus area of we are sparking student curiosity. We want to expand advanced content courses for at least or by at least 5%. And so we are looking at adding a recommendation is to add a French teacher, to add a 0.5 ELA teacher, as well as to add a high school science teacher. We currently, right now, we have a science master teacher leader that we have. And so us allocating, moving that position from a master teacher leader to one high school science teacher will afford us the opportunity to offer a lot more courses. We'll be able to offer an AP course. Science is the only class in which we do not have an AP course in. With the additional of the 0.5 ELA teacher, we'll be able to also add some different electives to the overall master schedule, piquing student interest, whether that be a newspaper, journalism, or another elective where we're getting student input as to what they would like to see as an additional elective. And the French teacher right now, we only have a 0.2 French teacher, which is one class over at CSK, but we are looking at making sure that we have a full-time teacher so that we can offer French 3. Right now, we don't have French 3 on our schedule, which would help us for our French students to become pathway completers. And Mrs. Pereira is currently teaching French 1, as well as Spanish 1, 2, and 3. And so that was the recommendation as it relates to sparking student curiosity. Does anybody have any questions with that first focus area? As we're looking
Where did the recommendations come from?
The recommendations are coming from the leadership team, as well as just the leadership team and myself coming together to take a look at like our master schedule and using the focus area, what we identified as our top priorities as the recommendation. And like, for example, the district gives us the standards of service, for example, which says that we have to offer 2 languages. For example, 2 world languages at both the middle and the high school level that are a continuous offering. That middle matches high school. And so we have to offer 2 world languages. Also, the district gives us allocations where what's kind of coming up after this particular slide, where you'll be able to see they give us a certain number of teachers that they say based on our enrollment that we have earned a certain number of teachers. We are allocated a certain number of counselors. We are allocated a certain number of gifted teachers or REP teachers, remedial education programs. So we have these different allocations that the school receives, and as well as making sure that we're applying the standards of service, which is required for every APS school.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? Will the middle school get like a remedial instructor like high school at any point to address some of the concerns with their not a lot, but some reading
Yes.
to,
So,
to bridge the gap just a little.
yep. And so, yeah, so as you see, the 0.5 ELA teacher
Okay.
line item, for example,
Mhm.
that's 6 through 12 that they're involved in 6 through 12. And so that could be a remediation piece, but also could be an elective. We do, based on our schedule, we do currently have in middle school where a student has ELA both days on A day and B day, where they are working on reading and writing, which is an advantage for us at the middle school level. But you're saying in addition to that.
In addition,
Yeah.
like phonics, you know, just those basic skills for some of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, we are caring for every child, and that is connected to our objective of implementing a whole child system of supports with the integration of SEL, including training to address academic and non-academic performance. We were allocated 2 counselors this year, this current school year. We do not have 2 counselors. We have 1 counselor, and so we are looking at allocation of 1 additional counselor to add up to 2. What that does is that advances the whole child system of supports by leading and integrating SEL practices, including staff training. And so also that looks at scheduling, that looks at different needs of a particular student, a family, different services that they may be recommended for them. That would reduce our social worker to 0.5, the position, as well as reduce a paraprofessional. Right now, we had 1, it would reduce that to 0, is what that would reduce that to. But the counselor position will be able to kind of circle around those different responsibilities and add value in those areas that there might be a reduction in. Does anyone have a question relating to that?
What does SEL stand for?
It stands for social emotional learning. And so,
Okay.
Yep. So for us, we'll let you want Ms. Epsprimus to go into that a little bit for you, Ms. Light?
Yeah, I think we should implement that if it's not already something that is
Yeah. Yeah, she does a
standard.
great job.
It is implemented, and it's
Yep.
basically consisting of 5 competencies, and these competencies allow students to make connections not just to their life but to the content. For example, you know, making responsible decisions, self-management, being socially aware of people around them. That's only 3 of the 2 that allow students to actually see, okay, you know, what is it that I need to do? And if you have them making those personal connections with themselves, then what happens is that when they're in literacy or they're in the real world, they're able to make those connections. So when someone does something, you ask them, did you make a responsible decision? And these skills help students monitor their behaviors, manage their social skills. It gives them an opportunity just to make choices. Choices not they just need in the classroom, but in the real world. And it's more so giving them that space to express themselves, use their voice, and understand what happens when you don't use these tools that are in place to help you be a citizen or better person, period.
So how is this implemented currently? How does this
We
show
have
up, for example, in a
the
class?
classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we have a program, and currently our program is focusing on men, being men. And that curriculum is right now being used during advisement. And those different strategies that are embedded into the program that has been substituted this year. We had something stepping second step, which has been given by the district. And I am the SEL liaison for Best Academy, and we meet once a month, making sure that we implement these skills to ensure students are being serviced, not just with counselors, but with teachers as well. It increases academics, it increases personality, self-efficacy. It is a valuable tool that is being used in the district school wide.
And one piece
So
to
you're
add,
saying that it comes up in advisory? That's how it's implemented?
In all the classes, teachers are given the opportunity to use these skills not just in advisement, but in instruction as well.
and
Okay. I would just like to more like I'm a parent, so this is the first time I've heard of it. So that's why I'm trying to get to the specifics of how this shows up. But perhaps that's an offline conversation.
I
I
love it. I can
agree.
give Mr. Williams a link and he'll provide that information. I'm glad you said that. We may need to do more of that when we're sending out robocalls, and not just robocalls, but just giving it to parents, period, so they understand our purpose and what we're doing there to make sure each child is successful.
And yeah, I mean, I come to all the parent teacher conferences, and nobody has ever talked to me about any of this. In when it comes to the specific for my students, so I'm just curious. As I hear what you're saying of what it is in general, but like specifically how it shows up or where it shows up, I would like to see more of that.
And that's powerful because what you just said, it blends in, it happens naturally. But for you to know exactly that it's working, I agree. You may even need the competencies to see how it blends in with their academics and their as a person.
Yeah, it definitely shows.
It does. It's more character development. We had it when out just from Miss Life, just so you understand. The baby we have in common, we use that with them. And it really helps them to develop their character. So you won't necessarily see it, you'll just see the results of it, of the implementation of the steps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you'll also see it based on looking at the behavior data as we're trying to, like we talked about decision making and those other, you might see it from a data standpoint. We look at our suspension rate. And so we, lowering our suspension rate, are we trying to build the student back up to be able to problem solve and to find some different solutions to a particular problem, being able to self-regulate themselves and be able to communicate what their issue is or problem that they may have with an adult. So it's overlapping, but from a data standpoint, that would be one area where you would see, okay, well, what is our discipline? What does that look like? What is our attendance rate? Is our attendance rate going up or down? Because if kids feel like they enjoying being at school, likelihood the attendance rate is going to go up as well. And so there's different metrics that are looked at from that perspective. Did you want to add anything about like the KPI or anything?
Well, I'll move back up what Ms. Hurd said. You do see more of the result side of it, because as you see students every day, you see different changes, and you see how they progress. With a lot of students, I've seen how they progress, in, in terms of emotional intelligence and as a character in itself, and especially within skills. I can name seniors, juniors, and even middle schoolers who have progressed. So, yeah. But definitely,
And it,
I do
and
agree.
it's also I'm glad you said that about building relationships, which happens to be one of the competencies as well. Because if a teacher builds a relationship with a student, you've already won the war. Because if they trust you, if the buy-in is there that you care, then when they come to class, they know, oh, this teacher cares about me. So our goal is to make sure every teacher is implementing those skills to where they are building relationship, number one. Because if you don't build a relationship, not with just a student or a person, you've already, been defeated.
All right. Thank you. That was a great question, Ms. Light. For our next focus area, we have our strength is our team, as well as we are strengthening our instructional core. And that means that trying to increase our overall staff capacity to support core content knowledge, our access to STEM, make sure that we are a STEM PBL certified school. We're actually going through that process right now. and we will be going through for the Georgia Department of Education to be able to get that certification later on, as well as, we talked about SEL for our students, but SEL for our adults is also important for us in making sure that our staff, that we have a culture to produce a warm culture in which we, from peer to peer, but also to peer from our staff to families, to parents, to students. And so it's a triangle where we have, our parents, our students, and our staff, and implementing that and be able to build capacity. And so this year, or for the next school year, for 26-27, the district did allocate 2 assistant principal positions. This year, there was 1 school. The district did allocate a second assistant principal for us. One piece that's unique for us is that we are 2 grade bands, meaning we have a middle school, but we also have a high school, 2 different grade level bands, which overlap, whether that be from vertical alignment within a particular content area. So there is a lot of overlap between the 2, but we are separate grade bands, and feel that this would strengthen staff capacity for professional learning, coaching cycles, looking at data-driven planning, as well as to advance our high-quality STEM instruction. Any questions? All right, or comments? For our next one, we are strengthening our instructional core, and we want to be intentional. We want to make sure that we're using data to drive instructional decisions. And currently we have a student support team specialist of 0.75 student support team specialist, and we're looking to increase that 0.25 so that that particular position is full-time. This will make sure that we have we have targeted support to improve student outcomes, where we're looking at students that are going through the process, the different level tiers, to make sure that we're providing different interventions. And if it's not working, then we have to go back and prescribe something new for our students to improve student outcomes.
I think Principal Williams, that is so important in light of our data from last year, that we continue on this upward bound. So I think that is very, very important.
Thank you for that feedback. Any other comments or questions?
No, I agree with Mr. Singer, because when those children have that targeted support, it really does it increases. Yes, I can see a huge difference with some of the students that I worked with last year that are still getting that support. It does help.
Okay.
Principal Williams.
And also, I'm sorry, and I want to also say that our behavior specialists using those strategies with SEL and PBIS has played a major role in helping our students who may be considered outliers, but now leaders. So it's powerful to get a support team to actually work with him as well, Mr. Moore.
Absolutely. I think there was one other person.
Hi, this is Ms. Henry. So question with that, what implications or what impact would that have on special education, or am I jumping ahead?
No, you're not jumping ahead. So sometimes when we look at the different level tiers of students, they may move from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4 into special education. And so when we look at that, this particular position does that work to ensure that those targeted interventions are implemented, to follow up. They're going in actually into the classroom to ensure that those interventions are taking place. And so it'll also make sure that we have our data, we have all of our different processes implemented by different timelines to make sure that we are providing everything that student needs. So this particular position is kind of the bridge. They're trying to provide the intervention so that the student can go back to tier 1 among all the rest of the students. But in the case that, that targeted intervention or the other intervention is not working, then they're going to go up to a different level tier that could potentially, a student could go into special education based on what their progress is. So the two are tied together because the SST specialist manages that process before a recommendation for an evaluation is made. Did that answer your question, Ms. Henry?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And our last focus area that is on our particular chart here is our school is effective and efficient. We want to make sure that we're providing that consistent two-way communication to all stakeholders, student, parent, teacher. And with this, we are looking at adding a non-instructional aide and reducing the school clerk position to 0. The non-instructional aide has more flexibility, can do a variety of different roles within the building, going to some, parents' house, family's house for support. They can be in the hallway. They can be in the classroom assisting. They have different capacities, different roles that they're able to implement as the non-instructional aide. And so that is the reasoning behind the change there in the position title for the flexibility there. Any questions or comments? Okay. All right, next, we talked about the staffing and that, and there's non-staffing allocation as well as school level flexibility. This is our sample here that was for an elementary school that the district provided. And so there will be different levels, different columns, which is the baseline, which is what the district again has allocated, what was staffed based on different recommendations. The French teacher, just different recommendations. And then there will be a column that says the difference between the two and additional comments, that there's some different comments from that perspective in terms of school level flexibility. And so as you see here, you can see that we have 4 more positions than what we were allocated. And so based on, for example, when we look at middle school core, 4.5, that seems like a very, very low number. 4.5 teachers for the entire middle school core content area. But again, that number is based on enrollment and different requirements that are necessary for a middle school to operate. And so for that particular line item, that row, we have a 9, staffed at 9, which is a difference of 4.5. So we have 9 middle school core teachers as we look at that particular number. We also, because we're 612, we're unique as well because some teachers may do both. Some teachers teach middle and high, and this doesn't necessarily take that into account. For a high school, you can kind of see that there. Again, the baseline was 8. The staff is 4.5, but again, there is that flexibility there. We have many teachers that are teaching both middle and high school classes. And so as we go down, you can kind of see the breakdown of the core teachers that we have. We have electives and enrichments, where we're looking at band, PE, world language, athletic director, high, number of gifted teachers. And so again, you can see that the baseline was 9, staffed was 7.5, and the difference is less 1.5. When we look at CTAE, JROTC, ESOL, or special education, a lot of those particular positions are not flexible, meaning that we couldn't necessarily change a number from, let's say, teacher interrelated, because those positions are earned based on students that require services. Any question on the first page or comment?
I have a question. So within the elective slash enrichments, so 9 being the baseline, that's what the district is giving us. Is that right? Or what they want us to have?
District is saying, hey, you have 300 students, you have middle school and high school, and they're saying that their allocation is 9. That's the number based on the different requirements, 2 world languages, based on those different requirements of standards of service, that it would be 9.
So based on this graph or chart, is it saying that we are short 1.5 teachers?
It's saying that yes, it is saying that we are short 1.5, but we also have, when we look at, let's say, for example, we have a core teacher that teaches electives as well. So for example, right now, we have a middle school and a high school science teacher that teaches a science elective class with technology class that's an elective, but that you wouldn't see that calculated in that particular row. It's a little confusing because our teachers, because we're a smaller school, are teaching maybe multiple grade bands as well as an elective.
So with the recommendations or I forget what the column was called, that the leadership team came up with, for example, by with adding another French teacher, does that add to the elective slash enrichments?
It does. So if you look on the teacher world language line in the recording.
So that's already accounted for in this?
Yes.
Okay, so we still are short 1.5 according to this, even with what you've already added.
Correct. That number is calculated into that.
And so then one more quick question. Something just popped up. So with the gifted line where it says that staff is 2, is that teacher like the AP teacher? Who are the gifted teachers?
So a teacher has to be certified.
Oh, okay.
Gifted teacher, and they may teach some higher level classes. They might teach an AP class.
Okay.
So certifications are.
Okay, cool. Understood. Thank you.
To be clear, that extra comes from the few slides back. That'll be that extra will be the AP science teacher. Would they be considered gifted, or is that on this slide?
Yes, but he said that all of those are already accounted for in this chart.
Yes. They will most likely be a gifted. Have that certification, most likely. Yeah, they would have that certification most likely. Mm-hmm. Good question. All right, as we look at paraprofessionals, you can see there where we have non-instructional aides currently is what we have that are in place. And as you can see, the number there, the difference is 2. For school administration, the difference is -1. For student and school support, we're over by 3.5 in terms of, and that when we look at the staff column, as you look at that, you can see that there are, let's say, the 2 counselors, there's the behavior specialist. You have all these different positions that are student and school support that are there to assist us. We have also at the bottom, you can see the non-instructional aid security in terms of helping out at the metal detector or throughout the day on the campus as well. We also have different positions custodian, operations manager, psychologists that are on our form as well. Any questions that you have? Okay. This here is the sample example for the non-staffing tab. And so it does say recommended. The recommended that is for the custodian as well as custodian overtime and school resource officer overtime. We have the allocation. We have different, and then any note that may be there that may be different than what the recommendation is potentially from the district level. And so this is hours here, starting with teacher stipends, overtime, student transportation, web-based subscriptions, instructional employee travel, that might be to a conference, student admissions. There are different types of stipends that staff receive, maybe a department chair, they might be a robotics coach. You also have fine arts stipends that are connected to fine arts. We have teacher substitutes. They give us a certain number based on how many staff we have, what that allocation is, as well as we currently have the hourly art teacher and the hourly teacher.
Question.
Yes.
So, it was, from my understanding, maybe I got this mixed up, that APS was staying for field trips. They were putting that to more of a centralized location, so downtown would be paying that. But I see on here we have student transportation. Is that after school?
That's the after school all stars.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Good point. Yep. So we do have to pay for the after school all stars buses for our middle school students that participate in that program. Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Will we ever have a full-time art teacher as opposed to hourly?
Yep. So that is definitely a possibility as we're looking at what we have currently. We have currently an hourly art teacher, and the projection for next year is that same position as the hourly. That is definitely something for us to consider as we look at it for the next year. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm asking only because a lot of the times with the gifted children, the creativity part is what keeps them from, moving to that next space. And it's a great outlet to connect with SEL, to give them that outlet to, be creative. Because sometimes when they draw or something like that, it'll help.
I agree completely.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
This shows from a standpoint for our projected enrollment that we are at 334. And this shows, based on the account description on the left, how much are allocated at each of those different line items. And also to the right, bottom right, is the pie chart, and the bulk of funds are for instruction. Let everybody take a look at that and give you a moment to think if you have any questions or have.
No, I think it he looks up well. You're talking 68% in instruction and 14% in pupil services. That's good.
It is. It's where it matches the focus.
Yeah.
The top 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And another positive note, we had Sylvan Hills Middle School here today for a recruitment presentation. Mr. Copeland was on part of one of the panels, and we have over 100 students that have applied for next school year. So that's exciting. So
that's beautiful.
That's amazing. Yes. Let's keep it going.
So because we're a small school, we actually do not have reserve funds. Other schools, what happens is they take a certain percent of the total budget, and they are unable to touch that, are not able to spend it until the following school year, and you've matched your projected enrollment or you haven't. And if you haven't, then the district sometimes does take some of those funds for those reserve funds just in case. All right, so here we are for us to take a look at. I'll let Chairman kind of go ahead and lead this particular part.
Okay, some questions for us to consider as we just went through this presentation. Does the budget proposal support our school's strategic objectives and lead to achieving our goals? If new positions, resources, or programs are being added, what data or feedback supports these changes? What trade-offs being made in this budget? Are any current programs or resources being adjusted or reduced? And how will that impact our students? If we are sharing staff positions, how will this affect student support and service delivery at our school?
And so at the bottom one right now, currently, we are sharing a nurse 0.5 with CSK, and based on the draft proposal, the social worker would be shared between two schools as well. But and we also have band with CSK. Those are mixed classes, and those classes have a girls and boys. For the last question, I don't know if anybody has any other comments about the first part.
It looked like it was in alignment,
Yeah,
to me.
sure. You look at those percentages, absolutely.
Mhm. And even the considerations that were made versus last year.
What you think, Mr. Cole?
I think in terms of how we prioritize, how we set our objectives last meeting, it worked really well, especially adding on AP Science, because I don't think we don't have an AP Science, so that was really good, especially since that was the question I was just asked not too long ago. So hey, so we can say next year we'll have AP Science. Also, I thought it was really interesting to see journalism in there as a new course. Very interesting perspective, especially as entering a time where journalism is very much so important, and that'll work alongside our ELA,
Yep.
just those different areas, strengthening them and essentially teaching them how those methods that they're using in those core classes, how to be applied to the real world in terms of general.
Oh, absolutely.
As well as RTF.
Yep, that's a great point.
That's I think it's
Yeah. Go ahead, Markel.
question though.
Yes.
So would the school clerk will be transferred? I guess I'm thinking about front office. I guess
So the position would be a non-instructional aide.
that would be
Yeah. And
I love the journalism piece because me working with students from the 100 Black Men of Atlanta for 24 years and sending off kids to school, to college. Unfortunately, the data shows, and these are facts, that 70% of our young women do a lot better in English ELA in college than our young men with writing and things of that nature. So I think this really helps us, puts us on the right trajectory.
Thanks. Any other thought?
I was excited to know when we did talk about it that the kids could actually participate and, during the game, they could go in and anchor that as if though they're on TV. What? We got best TV in place. It just gives them that exposure. You never know, exactly how that's going to help. And that ELA connection, giving them opportunity to use their voice and to actually real time present that they understand what's going on. I think it's amazing.
And I think it'll be in alignment too with the milestones, especially with the journalism piece, because they're having to look at those podcasts and things of that nature. It puts me in the mind of hands-on learning.
I think Ms. Henry, thank you. Ms. Henry, did you have a question or a comment?
I do. So you mentioned previously about the visit today from Sylvan Hills, and I think you said about 100 students. So thinking about the question statement with it talks about how will the adjusted or reduced, how will it impact our students? If we see an extensive growth in our enrollment, how would that impact our budget? Or do we have to wait until the start of the school year for the budget adjustment, or will we have allocated funds prior to the start of the school year?
Great question.
Yep, that's so the district looks at the first 10 days, 10 to 20 days. So we would not necessarily, unless, because what happens is, so let's say the window is open until March 6th for us in terms of students applying. And so students find out whether, what schools they got accepted into and are offered seats. And so students, sometimes families will accept the seat the next day. Sometimes it might be a month later or it might be 2 months later. And so the district typically will take a look at those first 10 to 20 days of attendance and say, okay, we were at 334. Where are we on the 10-day count? Are we at 334? Are we above that? And if we're at, let's say 360, the district will look at, well, yes, we will get additional funds based on per student, how many students we are over the enrollment projection, but those funds typically have not been available until, let's say, September, October timeframe. And so we would, in terms of making adjustments, whether that be for personnel or different types of resources, we would have to wait until that adjustment is made. But you bring a good point, because if we have accepted seats, people that have accepted the seat, and we're over that 334, that maybe we could ask the question as soon as we reach that milestone of over 334. Great question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Williams. Absolutely. I was misheard.
That was Miss Henry.
Oh, sorry.
We look and act alike.
Quinn.
So the Go team needs to take action, vote on the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2027. After the motion and a second, the Go team may have an additional discussion, and once discussion is concluded, the Go team will vote. So I would now take the motion to approve the.
I move that we approve the budget.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okie dokie. All in favor of the proposed budget, state aye.
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 Any opposed? It is unanimous.
All right, we're at the final, our next meeting will be at the final step of the process, step 7, for the GoTeam budget finalization meeting. And of course, at the bottom, you can see that, we're going to continue to have our ongoing conversations. I see everybody in the building throughout the week, and I get stopped all the time, so please continue to reach out to me if you have any additional questions. Our next meeting is going to be on March 10th at 5 p.m., same time, same place.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I thank you all. I mean, did a great job, everybody on this team, working with Principal Williams and the A team, and of course Chairman Copeland there. The thought process, EP, just going through, looking at where we need to put our support for our young people, our boys, and I think we've done that collectively as a cohort.
Absolutely, Mr. Singer, I absolutely agree.
I agree.
I agree as well. Thank you.
Great job.
Yep, thank you.
All right, we have a few information items, announcements. as well as we'll check our public comment form. So we have the Yonder pouch that is coming that Mr. Copeland has seen. And so that is essentially an opportunity for us to be able to be cell phone free during the school day. Did it switch over to the Yonder slide? It did. See,
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And so we're going to talk about the purpose, the reason behind it. We did try our boxes, our locker boxes for the cell phone, but we weren't as successful as we wanted to be in terms of cell phone usage, both inside of the classroom as well as outside. And so the Yonder pouch has been implemented to a lot of different schools across APS, starting last year with Midtown was the first school that implemented the Yonder pouch. And we think that this will impact student well-being, academic performance, classroom engagement, and social connection. In terms of the digital overload, in terms of what Yonder, in terms of doing some of their research, has led multiple hours of usage can lead to depression. And in terms of coming back to be engaged in the classroom, that it could take up to 20 minutes. And so the thought is that we will be able to see some stronger outcomes for our students, as well as building stronger connections with each other.
I love it.
And it's really going across the United States in terms of the Yonder and those schools, districts that are implementing them, as well as even the state of Georgia with the bill that was recently passed.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, it is a solid pouch that simply the students would arrive in the morning and be able to receive a pouch. Everybody would have their same pouch each day. And we would just simply, they would put their cell phone in, lock it, and they would keep it with them throughout the day. And at the very end of the day, we would come and with a device to be able to open up each particular pouch, collect those, and then do it again the next day so that the student would have the same pouch each day as we're looking at that. This is some of the data that has been collected from the Yonder from an independent study.
What does that look like?
This right here, or the data? Or
No, what is it? What does it look like step by step when they walk through the door? They'll be in the cafeteria.
they walk through
What happened?
right at the metal detectors. We'll have a team, Yonder pouch team, that will we'll have multiple containers that will have them labeled and be able to have our list as well as to who has what pouch, if they're in middle school or high school, based on the number for their pouch. And we would hand it to them, watch them close it, and they would keep that pouch with them in their backpack with them at all day. And at the last 5 to 10 minutes of the day, staff will be coming into the classrooms to unlock each of the cases and to collect the pouches.
May I ask a question? Is there a reason why they don't use their lockers and put all their belongings in their lockers?
Principal Williams, I think Principal Williams, I know he's going to talk about it. We talked about it earlier in the year, but I think next year, I know isn't there a cost, Principal Williams, to us get them to get rekeyed?
There is a cost to rekey it each year. We have seen that in terms from there are some kids do have some backpacks, so definitely have some kids do have some backpacks. Another concern has been in terms of the tardiness, but that is something that the student body has brought up. And so that would definitely be taken in terms from there are some kids do have some backpacks. So definitely some kids do have some backpacks. Another concern has been in terms of the tardiness, but that is something that the student body has brought up. And so that would definitely be taken into consideration with the SGA as well.
I just asked, because they can put all their, I would think that they could utilize those lockers. It would keep clutter down in the classroom, because those book bags are bulky, but they're also heavy. And, those children carry those all day. And that may lead to some of their aggravation as well, because they're really heavy.
Yeah.
I just wondered. And then just maybe have a
They
clear
shouldn't.
backpack.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to go to their lockers between classes since most of our textbooks are online. Am I correct? Or am I the only class? Yeah,
With
most of
my
them
D,
have
he has.
virtual textbooks. So it's not like back in the day where they would have to change books
There you go.
between each class.
But
Right.
it kind of is because my D has two history classes. He has U.S. history and he has AP African American history. And I literally just had to go buy two new 3-ring binders because that class has so many handouts. So I'm trying to help him get organized. And I asked that question. I thought because he said you had to pay for it. So I think he was under the impression that he could get a locker if he paid for it. But then he ended up getting a locker, I guess, like with sports. So he's able to use that locker.
Well,
But go ahead. I had another question.
I
I'll let
say
y'all
that
finish.
I think I was talking to Principal Williams that we're going to work with the 100 and the emerging to something we're looking at to get them all rekeyed going into next year.
Okay. So my question about this pouch thing. So you're saying that when they arrive in the morning, go through the metal detector, then they get the pouch. But what if what if the student is late? So is it are the staffing people that you're saying that's at the metal detector there whatever time they arrive to give them this pouch?
Yeah, so it will move to the front office,
Okay.
the container, the pouches that are left. So it'll be even easier to see, well, okay, this student hasn't arrived yet. And when they arrive, they have their pouch ready for them.
So because I'm thinking like my child. So I know if he can get by the pouch, he's not going to go to the office to get the pouch. So you're saying that there still will be a staff person to say, hey, you need to come get this pouch, even if he comes in the door late?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And plus, he has to check in the front office anyway. I think every student that comes through that's late has to check in.
I don't think he does. I think like he'll go to the gym. If he has gym first, he'll just go to the gym.
We got to talk about that one. We got to talk about that one. But yeah, we definitely want everybody to come to the front office as well as when they come in to be able to mark them tardy, and also are able to, we want to make sure every student is getting checked as they come in, that they get checked, as well as if the student does have their phone out, once the pouch is implemented, then the cell phone would be collected and we would ask a parent to pick it up. If like, let's say, student does, let's say, circumvent in some way, but shouldn't be happening where they circumvent that process in some way. Yeah.
So I got another thing that y'all might want to consider, because I think one of the teachers told me this is that they'll turn in like old cell phones instead of the cell phone that really works.
Yeah, or they'll have two cell phones. They'll have one hidden
Yep.
someplace really good, and then they'll turn in one that they don't use to be in the pouch.
Mm-hmm.
There may be somebody in my house that does that because
You might have gotten it, told me.
we got kids
because I
that
get text messages during school time.
They can
Right.
afford 2 cell phones. Wow.
Well, they might have an old one.
There's an old one that
they're
doesn't
slick.
work.
They don't have to
Yeah.
turn them in. Like when you get a new phone, you have to turn them phones in now. Like if you get a new one.
I've never turned the phone in because I don't know what these people do with your information. So I keep all my phones.
I got
So they might find an old phone And I hadn't even thought of this until it was shared. So these are just all the things to think
Yeah,
about, you
that's
know.
something definitely to think about for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're definitely, there have been some creative, I've heard some creative stories. I've heard some creative stories for sure. And so we are looking at starting that probably by the second week of March, to be able to start that process for the Yonder Pouch. And of course, we may have to make some changes as we're implementing, but we have spoken to other schools that have implemented it to help guide us. And hearing from you all right now, you've shared some good insight as well. We're super excited. I'm gonna let you go ahead, sir, with the announcement.
For announcements, we once again our basketball team has made it to the state playoffs.
Excellent, excellent.
They play tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Putnam County High School. That's in Fulton County, wherever that is. And then this week we're celebrating Career Day, also alongside Black History Month. Career Day is tomorrow. Tomorrow for Black History is dress. We'll come back to that. We also have the Black History Ball competition, which is this Thursday. Miss Adams will be hosting the competition with the middle schoolers. I want to say last year the winner was Miss Holt's homeroom.
Okay.
And so we'll see who will be the lucky group this year to win and take home the trophy. We also have our awards program this Friday morning.
Yes.
Right.
And we have the Merging 100.
The Merging 100 will also be here.
I think it's Thursday. We were told today it was Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's been rescheduled. My D said that it's Friday now at 9.
Yes. We'll make sure we send that out. We did.
Thank you.
Got sent out, and we tried to collect them all to say that it was on February 27th. So thank you for that, Ms. Epps Primus and Ms. Light. Any other announcements?
Back to the career for tomorrow for the Black History Month. It'll be Trailblazer Dress Day, which is, if you don't know, dress as a historical trailblazer, modern day game changer, or your future professional self. So we can't wait to see everybody in their professional future selves.
All right.
I'd like to share, if you don't mind.
Okay, absolutely.
Oh yeah, the books and brunch discussion went really, really well. The boys received a lot of compliments from, different people at the Cheesecake Factory, and they want to do it again. So I was very happy. It was very fun. Mm-hmm.
Great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other announcements?
Well, our gifted department will be heading out for a field trip this Thursday. Also, the seniors will be heading to the Delta facility. That's through the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. And we also are taking students to the Georgia State University campus for the Atlanta Public Schools Student Leader Symposium. So we have a lot going on.
Yay, my alumni.
All right, perfect. Well, we're gonna see if we have any comment in there for responses. Okay. All right, and
okie dokie. If there are not any other announcements or comments, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
A second it.
Oh, we got one last thing. Sorry.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh yes, this. If for those members who seek or anybody for those members who seek to run or outside watching now, GoTeam decorations are now open. They'll be open. Well, they're open now. I want to say Friday.
Yeah, Saturday. I think that's Saturday.
Saturday. So if you want to be here or want to join us here again next year, please feel free to scan the code, visit his website, and declare your candidacy today.
Thank you.
Good job.
There are no other announcements now. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Hurd made the motion. Ms. Esprey was second. All in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
take
Good night,
care.
Principal Williams.
everyone. Good night.
Good night. Principal Williams and Markel, could you guys send me the transcript so I can get that done, please?
We'll do that immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want that order here. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one. Oh, Principal Williams, do you